Hey everybody, I'm Geno Reynolds from The Real Geno. Today we're going to be taking a look at Bad Santa 2, the return of Billy Bob Thornton playing the Santa Claus that everyone loves to hate and hates to love. More than a decade after the first movie, Willie, played by Billy Bob Thornton, is brought back into the stealing game by his old partner Marcus and an unlikely and hated ally, his own mother. Their job, rob a Chicago charity of millions on Christmas Eve. As a fan of the first movie, I was excited to finally get a sequel, but I was also a bit worried that the 13-year gap between movies would be too big of a hurdle. After seeing the sequel, I can say that if you are not expecting the reinvention of the wheel, fans of the first movie will probably have a good time watching this one. I will say that the sequel has some minor differences from its predecessor. For those wondering, while you don't have to have seen the first movie, it really helps. They do a bit of a recap of where Willie is at in life after the events of the first movie, but to really understand all of the humor and inside jokes, knowing the events from part 1 is a plus. The first big difference is that this one, for the most part, has a lighter, more funny tone than the darker comedic tone of the first movie. Don't get me wrong, the humor is still horribly mean and non-PC, but the overall story isn't nearly as depressing. While Willie's life is still as crappy as ever and some elements are still kind of depressing, such as the subtle hints that he misses his girlfriend from the first movie, for the most part, even these things are played for laughs. When it comes to the characters, the ones we know are mostly the same. Willie is still a depressed, horribly mean old SOB that deep down is a good guy, or at least wants to be. Marcus still comes off as a wild card and probably shouldn't be trusted. Thurman Merman is a bit different this time around. Instead of coming off as young and naive like he did the first time, he is more or less just dumb in this one. There are even a few jokes that more or less say he is mentally handicapped or a little slow, saying things like he is just above the spectrum. On a personal note, I'm never a fan of those types of jokes and I never really find them funny. That being said, Thurman does bring a lot of the wisdom and grounding to Willie, so for the most part it kind of evens out. Most of the new characters are basically just newer versions of the characters from part 1. Christina Hendricks is the replacement for Lauren Graham, there's a new security officer that is basically the Bernie Mac character, etc. The exception is Kathy Bates, who plays Willie's mom. For those wondering about the lack of an age gap between Bates and Thornton, the movie does cover that. Bates brings a lot of biting humor that plays really well off of Thornton and Tony Cox. That being said, like the rest of the movie's plots and characters, her arc is pretty predictable. For those looking for a brand new take on the classic comedy, for the most part, you're not going to get it. For those looking to enjoy a lot of what they got from the first movie, you will get a lot of laughs from the sequel. Because of the cast, especially Billy Bob Thornton, this sequel is probably as good as we could have hoped for from a sequel 13 years in the making. But remember, it's only just one guy's opinion. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you've seen here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel. Feel free to comment below and give this video a like. Till next time, I'm Geno Reynolds from The Real Geno.